Wow, 44 people in the room.
Yep. Magic.
That's definitely next level.
That's a good sign.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, awesome people.
Oh, hello.
Wow. I can feel that energy coming in. Woo! Yeah.
Exactly. That's what's so
Okay.
different about having everybody in the Zoom room versus like on Facebook Live.
I'll head out to the other room.
We're playing, we're figuring it out. How is everybody today? We're playing with technology today.
It's challenging.
You know, it's a skill
It is.
and I'm learning a lot. I didn't know I was going to learn this much, but I am.
That's right.
God gave it to me, so it must mean I'm supposed to be here to learn it.
There you go.
You're doing great, Mary Lynn.
Why, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. Let me know when you're all ready to go.
I like your fancy setup, Elijah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Is it fancy?
I mean, you have this like very nice mic and you have this like Aurora Borealis thing happening in the background.
It's true. Yeah. I do my best to create a good vibe. And I wouldn't be much of a professional sound technician if I didn't have a good mic, you know.
That would be hilarious though.
Right.
If you had like a little tiny cheap mic or something. I would.
Yeah, you know.
Just the Apple.
Whatever works.
Time you speak, do your cymbals vibrate when you speak too then, so you can feel the vibration behind you?
You know, they do. For the very acute sensitive listener, you'll hear some subtle vibrations coming through this transmission today.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yep. All right. Are we good to go, everybody?
Yep, ready to rock and roll.
Art team, are we going to record? I don't know who's hitting the button.
It says recording.
Oh, Lordy. See what I'm learning already? Duh. So,
Yeah,
again,
I don't remember the pop-up though that
I
you
didn't
usually
either. I
do.
didn't click yes. So that's
Yeah.
where it got you. Okay. See, again, it's doing it for us. So hello, everybody. Oh my gosh. Thank you. We have the amazing Jason Estes and Elijah Ray together. Oh my gosh. I've been waiting for this for a very long time. Being a bed owner, having these Ray tracks and playing them, I can tell you that they are powerful, beautiful, intentional, and add the bed to it. There is just amazingness to it, and the journey that Elijah and Jason are taking us on with the bed and the Ray tracks. I'm up to 6 at this point, and I can tell you there is nothing like it. I've played the other frequencies, which are amazing as well. But these, it doesn't even compare. It's not even relatable. It's just apples to oranges, whatever, trees to a bottle, whatever. It's nothing like it. So I am very much looking forward to seeing the journey of this, of how Jason and Elijah met and how the magic came into be, because when you experience it, whether it's in person or remotely, it's still incredible. So gentlemen, oh my gosh, can you share your amazing story?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to start or do you want me to start since I met you, Elijah?
I think you
Like,
should start.
I had a
Jake.
whole journey to meet you. It was crazy, the journey.
Yeah, you got to tell us about it.
Yeah, so I ended up dying the night before, right? That's the best way I can describe it. So I had liver failure, I had taken a heat stroke, and then I got COVID on top of that. And it was a super fun day to die before. So then the power went out in Costa Rica at the place that we were at. And so the gates were closed and everything, and everybody had left to go fix stuff. So I come out of my room after just recovering life again. And I walk out there and nobody's there. It's like a ghost town. And I'm like, okay, well, I know that I'm supposed to go and I don't know why I'm supposed to go. At this time, I didn't know anything about Elijah or anything. I just knew that I was supposed to go. So I walk. Now keep in mind, I literally just died. So I walk I don't know how many miles it is or whatever, but it was forever because I couldn't find the location I was going. So I was going the wrong way, then I went the right way, then I went the wrong way, then I went the right way. Eventually I get to a gate and it's closed. And there's nobody there to manage the gate because everybody's at his concert or at Regan's thing, actually, I think it was, because you were just coming on when I finally got there. So
Nice.
it actually worked out perfect timing. But I'm like sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, I'm off grid because I'm on a project, so I can't call anyone. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't want to walk back. Well, I guess I can just like crawl around the fence into the deep jungle, into this giant pitfall of a place, while being, not very well. So I get to this point where I'm like, okay, I'm fully committed to this. I know I'm supposed to be there. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm ready. I'm in flip-flops, by the way, for those of you that don't know. So imagine flip-flopping through the jungle in a pit, right? While just coming back to life. So running the highest fever ever the day before and literally dying. And I'm like, yeah, I'm committed. I'm doing this. I'm ready. I'm going to do this. As soon as I make that commitment in my mind, the gate opens and a car is randomly leaving. And I'm like, thank God I didn't have to do that. Because I was willing to, but it was also like an 80% chance that I was going to die and stay dead, like fall off of a cliff, huge pitfall, be dead forever. But I was willing to because I knew that it was the next step, right? So anyway, I walk in and then I go the wrong way up again. But by the time I finally get there, it's like 2 hours of walking around trying to find where Elijah is. And I get there and Elijah is about to go on and I just collapse straight onto one of the cushions. So exhausted, didn't prepare properly, one of those things, right? But here's the cool part. Elijah, if you've never experienced Elijah in person, I highly, highly recommend it. I got to experience Elijah from a nearly passed out state of utter exhaustion, which allowed me not to fight anything that he was doing and just be in this deep, deep, deep state of surrender. And there was no other option because I literally just gone on this crazy journey to get there. So I get to lay down unconscious-ish, and he starts to play. And it's almost like this celestial hymn from heaven is like reviving my soul. It's like, hey, you just got royally screwed over through this experience, but we're going to go ahead and weave you back into your body line by line by line by line by line. And so it was almost like Elijah was playing just for me. Now, I know he's playing for everyone, but he's so good at what he does that there's an individual experience inside of the collective experience. And as soon as it was over, I immediately got up there and I was like, okay, Elijah, I know who you are. You're freaking amazing. We're brothers. This is going to be awesome. And then we didn't get to talk. And there's a reason, because we were both presenters. And so what happens when you're a presenter and you meet with another presenter is you never get to hang out with that person, but So then like a few weeks later, I think it was, we started to collaborate and we came together. And then this beautiful opportunity came where he got to have Miracle Mac for the first time. I know that that's probably not what everybody else wants to hear, but for me, it was glorious. We had this, there's a photo. It's so great. It's a great time, right? But he came to my house and we sat down and we just jammed. Like I told him about what I'd built and what my life's work was. He was telling me about his life's work and we figured out how to combine them to build the 12 tracks. And the 12 tracks take you from this one space to wholeness, right? And it starts with innocence, because you're rewriting this templated reality in your cellular matrix and acknowledging and deprogramming at the same time. So that's why it's one of the most valuable things that I think I've ever written and done. And Elijah just took it to the next level by adding his mastery and what he came for. So that was my side of the story. And now Elijah's side of the story.
Oh, I love it. Every great story starts with, so I almost died. Or actually, I did die.
I did die. Yeah, that was a rough
I died
one.
the night before, and then the story begins. It's going to be a great story. And so, yeah, just love you so much, brother. It was amazing because as I was preparing for that experience, I was, of course, up there at this event, and I get asked to do all kinds of events, and whether it's something like this, like, hey, come on alive and let's have a talk, or hey, come to our thing and broadcast sound and see what happens. I never make a plan. So I just wanted to say that, that experience that you were just describing, Jason, it's like, there's nothing premeditated about that event. So kind of like as you were weaving your way through the jungle and having this epic initiation to get to that moment, I too was weaving my way through the jungle of reality of just scoping out this event, understanding where everyone's coming from, taking kind of like a almost like a wide angle lens view of like, what are all the frequencies, people, experiences coming into the space. And that's literally kind of what starts my journey as well. So I have a bit of a death before I start any experience by just cancel, clear, deleting any thoughts, any process, any, you know, say positioning that I might have before I get there, gone. And I just kind of sit in this empty state. And then there you arrive, like basically coming through the jungle, collapsing on this pillow. I'm like, wow, I know I've never met you, but I know I've met you. And it was a sense of a long lost friend kind of coming to the watering hole of consciousness. And for that moment in time, I got to just pour into the moment. And as you do the same for so many people as well, it was an honor to just pour into that moment. And part of that experience for me was noticing the shift in the room and in the frequency when you arrived. Even though you may have been in what you felt as a depleted state, the actual frequency of the room definitely shifted and became self-aware to, let's say, another level when you came into the space. So I noticed that right away. And when I was singing, I was definitely noticing the qualities of care and that just kind of wanted to wrap you up that were coming through that particular SoundLight. So I think there was both a collective and an individual journey that unfolded there. But yeah, brother, just want to say, and to everyone here who's listening, you know, Jason and I both have a unique as you can be journey through time and space, but yet there's a mirrored parallel devotion and commitment to consciousness and to the planet and to making this world a brighter place that made us, you know, obviously just instant brothers. And so I felt that as well. As soon as I saw him, I'm like, okay, you're my brother. We're going to do something. We're obviously on the same wave. We're obviously we're here with the same mission. And to be able to unpack that and get to know what that means is such a fun adventure. So yeah, I'm loving every minute.
Awesome. And then when it came to the SoundLight healing journey that we were able to collaborate to create the rays with, how do you feel that initial connection came in together? You know, I'm curious to hear your side of like coming into the wizarding world of Jason's house.
Yes, well, that is quite an epic tale in and of itself. But it was very clear entering the field of Hogwarts, that is Jason's house. It was definitely it felt like coming home because, you know, I do my best to curate multidimensional spaces that are containers of coherence, and such as my studio. And anywhere I go, we kind of have like traveling versions of that, like our multidimensional kind of spherical temples that we can pop up anywhere we go. But you've created a literal physical grounded version of that in your home. And it was just such a sigh of relief, because in a way I was coming to your house in a similar state that you arrived to my SoundLight, where I was on tour. So I had a bunch of shows and was had been traveling. And so in a way I landed in Jason's home a bit disheveled and road weary, to say the least, you know. So I was kind of like collapsing into your home, and you're like, here, come drink from this fountain that I've created of multidimensional
Exactly.
magic. And so it was just an amazing gift to get to receive, you know, all of the mastery that you've been honing, you know, for lifetimes through not only these technologies, but more so in the behavioral intelligence that you've adopted to project and sustain those technologies in space and time. That's really what I noticed right away. You know, because a wizard recognizes another wizard more so by their behaviors and the ripple effect that their behaviors have on reality than anything in the physical reality. So while all the technologies were really cool, I was like, okay, this is genius level stuff. It was more so the Miracle Mac,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's
The
like those
miracle.
levels
Yeah.
of like, this might not be the thing, but it's actually the whole thing. So yeah, so I recognize that right away. And I'll just say for everyone here as well, you know, thanks for listening in and going along the ride of us getting to reconnect and recount the story kind of for the first time together.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, what's coming back to me is you introduced me to the bed. So you took me in that room and you said, here's this thing I created, check it out. And I think by the time I laid down and had a session on it, I was already aware of the bed, because I think Regan and Wampa told me about it. You told me a little bit about it at the event, but getting to lay down on it, I instantly entered a field of, I'm sure many people on this call are aware of this space, even though it's very hard to put words to it. It's like a space where past, future, and present are all parallel spaces that are accessible in that moment. It's a quantum state of, you have access in a way to every memory and every future memory. And in that moment, I was having future memories of the soundtrack that I was going to help design that was going to be playing through the speakers. So even though I was listening to a different soundtrack, I think you had some kind of temporary music on in that moment, I was actually in the future listening to the soundtrack that had not yet been written. And so when I came off the bed, I kind of was just like smiling at you. Were like, so what do you think? I was like, well, I think we're going to do something here. And I think the words I might have said was something like, I have some ideas about ways I can bring value to this amazing thing that you built, because I could just see like our two worlds starting to do this, right? They're just like, and creating something really fun. So yeah, so I immediately felt aware that what I am designed to do, what I love to do, and what I feel in a way my devotional path through space and time just was like a hand in a glove of what your devotional path and what your mission is here on this planet. So I noticed how our missions were very instantly complementary and could bring value to each other. So something about you creating this container and this technology and this quantum device created in a way a frame for the paintings that I'm here to paint. And so it just was such a joy to feel that that instant synergy. And so, yeah, I think from that, we had like a 10-minute conversation. It's like, okay, well, let's do that then. Check. What else are we going to do? It was that easy. I just want to, we could mystify it a little bit more for you guys, but it was actually kind of that easy. It's like, oh, well, this is a thing that needs to happen. Let's do this. And great. Okay. What's next? It had that sense of ease to it. And I think all really great things kind of feel like small things in an odd way, whereas like really small things like Miracle Mac actually feel like a really big deal because they are. It's funny how that works.
That's how it works, though. I mean, I knew that Elijah was the right one to create these tracks. Like I knew that in Costa Rica because of the experience I had, and knowing that if we came together and I shared with him my core teachings, like the most valuable teachings ever, which are the 7, right? And then he told me about his 12. And then we were like, okay, we'll create master tracks to build the 12. And we built this whole system based on everything that I ever understood or knew. In fact, it's not a public technology yet, the thing that he used to build it, but that is the core teaching. That is the secret of everything in the universe. And when you master it, it changes everything, right? And I gave that to him, and then he had something already, right? So together we were like the earth and the sky coming together to create heaven on earth. And that was the goal of these 12 tracks. We were like, okay, well, how do we bring somebody in 60 sessions from where they are to a wholeness template? Like, how does that possibly work? And I'm not going to say we did it. I know that we did it, but everybody else will have to experience and make their own decisions. It's incredible, and this is just the beginning. Like me and Elijah are going to work on collaborating, creating more tracks that are add-ons to those to like amplify from wholeness. How do we expand into even greater levels of wholeness? How do we come into these deeper states? And so we're going to keep building cool stuff, collaborating on things. Elijah's about to get a bed in Costa Rica at his new place. I'm so stoked for you, dude. He brought on day 1, he brought this stuff called Jewel Juice, which he now has a space where he makes Jewel Juice in Costa Rica. I think today is day 1 of Soma, right?
Yeah, so this is day 1 of training our staff.
Okay, it's not officially open. My bad, everyone.
No, it's
It
good.
will open someday, very soon.
Day 1, and I just pulled this out just to sit here with us, just to kind of hold the frequency of amethyst for this call. But we'll talk about Jewel Juice another time. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, but it was this amazing thing. The reason I'm mentioning Jewel Juice is because on day 1 he brought it, and it was like a drink that tasted good but had everything I needed in it. And it was so good. And then he was like, yeah, I'll get you some eventually. And that eventually is still going. But
We're
the
almost ready.
point is, it's so incredibly good and powerful, and it showed me his range, right? It showed me that not only can he do this amazing stuff with sound, but he's a brilliant alchemist on top of that. Because he's like me, he's able to play all the ranges because he's himself.
Hmm.
And that's somebody that I can trust and work with. I mean, we pretty much did a napkin deal for your record contract. Like,
Yeah.
that's not something that you usually do, and that's not something I usually do at that level. But we knew that we were both here to create heaven on earth and to do it faster than what we already had. And so there was no like anything pulling or pushing. There was just this instant brotherhood of, okay, let's get this done. And then sure enough, we got it done. And you did it much faster. I think you had them all done in December, right?
Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we said by December 21st, which was already a pretty lofty task, you know, for 12 rays to be symphonically translated, you know, into form. But I think we got them all done by December 9th or something like that. So yeah, we did pretty good. And I just want to agree and high five you there, bro, that it's what I would call a super conductive relationship, or a super conductive resonance pattern of relating, is when there's not really any interference or projection patterns to kind of weed through to get to the work. It's like we were already ready and already blazing through space and time. So when I saw you in that moment at Juan Panrigan's event in Costa Rica, it was like we could have sat down and probably created a napkin deal to do anything in that very moment. I would have said yes, because I just knew who you were right away. And that is a very rare thing. It's I mean, as rare as you know, as anything in this world. Like to, you know, to find a diamond when you're walking down a jungle path. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is real, and this is you know, as clear as can be. And so there's nothing in the way of it. And I really appreciate that about the way that we created this, you know, and it actually creates so much excitement and magnetism toward whatever's next. And I love that you've already given a little sneak preview that there's more to come.
Oh yeah, this is just the beginning. I can't wait to play. I see like 32 to 36. Just feels like a really good number, but hey, who knows? We'll see. We'll do them one at a time, everyone. But I'm very, very, very excited for the future of the bed and like what it's coming into and the experiences with that, and branching out. Like you getting one in Costa Rica is going to be huge, because there's none in Costa Rica currently of that model.
Can't wait. I'm so excited. Yeah. The vision, you know, just for everyone here too, you know, our vision when we started collaborating, when I came to the wizarding school of Jason's house, was, oh, we'll get you a bed and then you can design them while you're on the bed. You know, you can kind of test them out. But I actually had to do that from afar because it turned out to be a little complex to get one to Costa Rica, you know, in a moment's notice. So I actually produced all of these rays while I was down here, and was checking in from that same kind of quantum state after having done a few sessions on the bed. And I'd love to acknowledge and speak to this fact for those who are listening, those who have a bed, and those who are perhaps curious to have one. When you're working with a quantum technology, and Jason, you could probably, you know, jam on this a lot more deeply than I can in words, but I have a more felt sense and symphonic understanding of quantum technologies, whereas my understanding, having laid on the bed, was that it's kind of like remembering a song that you heard when you were in the womb, and once you remember that song, there's nothing that anyone can tell you, and no matter how many other songs they play, that can take away that felt sense and memory of that song. And that song is actually your home. And so that from a space of home, you can access all that there is to access within the wholeness template of who you are. And so when I laid on the bed and got that future memory of doing the music for the bed, that was just a kind of being in a state of such openness and surrender to be shown something that's already happening. It's like a parallel timeline. It's something that is just true. It just rings true. Like if you ring a tuning fork at one end of the room, the other one will ring. So it had the ring of truth to it. And so as I was producing these SoundLight rays, and Jason and I would be in connection, and kind of just, hey, how's it going over there? Yeah, great. And I'd send him the first one, and I kind of gave him a taste of what I was cooking up. I actually had, in a way, like a quantum access to that bed because I had already laid on it. And so I know a lot of people talk about, oh, I'll do a long distance session for you. And that could be maybe well intentioned. And I think through the power of intention and the magnetic field of our heart, anything is possible. We can send love and prayers to anywhere in the world with no technology. But with this bed, it really does, I think, hyper manifest the physicalized bridge of whatever frequencies you want to send through it. So for instance, as I was doing these SoundLight rays, I was here in my studio, but I could close my eyes and put myself back on that bed across space and time. And as soon as we get a bed here and we set it up in my house, I'm probably going to like collapse some timeline of like what I was doing 3 months ago, imagining having a bed here, but that's just how these things work. It sounds a little Harry Potter-ish, but that's the whole point, is that we are literally kind of working with timelines and playing with these parallel realms and collapsing them to become whole again. And I think that it's a beautiful reflection of what we're doing internally, with these aspects of ourselves and these emotional, let's say, shards that have become kind of shattered or crystallized over time. It's like by working with the bed and working with these frequencies, because of the deep intention that Jason and I both hold for the path into remembering wholeness, it's really returning to a place that we never left. It's not so much, oh, you're unhealed and you need to get somewhere where you're healed. It's more like it's a return and a remembrance and a recollection of self. And that was, I just wanted to describe a little bit of that, because it was literally in the process of creating this technology is in a way a hologram of the purpose of the technology itself. And it could be no other way, right? The hologram contains the seed of the whole. It has to be that way, right? So curious if you have anything else you want to add to that, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, well, the coolest part about what you're saying is like there's a measurable field on the bed in a remote session. So like we actually are coming up with a white paper, I think either this week or next week, that actually proves quantum entanglement through actual scientific research. So we did remote sessions on somebody and then did cheek cell studies on that person to prove that it did in fact actually change, and we got a measurable difference, which was pretty amazing. And then when we found out that 2-hour mark, which is the key, when you do a remote session 2 hours, you get the same value of the cheek cells that you did when you do 1 hour on the bed in person. So we actually found that mark and we began to like work with that. So I would say yes, like I've worked with remote technologies before. I've had people do distance sessions, things like that. I've never felt things at the same level that I do with this bed. And I think the reason is because the bed creates a standing field, whereas a person creates a subtle field that's constantly shaking, where the bed creates a stable field. So it's always available in every second and every nanosecond, whereas a person is waving when the energy runs through them, right?
Right.
And so I think that that's one of the reasons that it's so much stronger than most of the distance sessions. But I also think it's the intentionality of it, like the purity of what we're trying to accomplish working with it. Like, for instance, you and me collaborated to create the tracks and build them, and then I'm actually receiving them still. So when I finish, I do 5 times, and each time I'm actually on the bed, I'm grounding that into the world's template using the same technology that I do with activations, right? So it's really building this opportunity to grid reference this technology so that whenever you're receiving it on the bed, you're able to tap into that grid in almost a master level. So you're able to get deeper and more powerful experiences from this, because the technology was written, created, and built in this amazing magical way, and then is also stabilized, so much so that science can actually prove what we're talking about now. And that's groundbreaking. For those of you that don't know, Glenn is actually at the Quantum Biology Conference right now talking about this because it's such a groundbreaking thing.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm so excited for the data that will be, kind of flowering out of this process over the years to come. It's because it's so true. There's so many, wonderful technologies, wonderful healing tools, wonderful things. And a lot of them aren't so wonderful. Some of them can actually do the opposite of what they're claiming to do. But what's amazing about this is that there's going to be measurable data that will continue to come from this project. I'm just as excited about that as I am, about everything we're discussing so far. And yeah, I'm curious, like what's next in the blooming of this project? What do you see as kind of like what's needed? What are you calling in? What are you envisioning? And just for everyone listening, where can everyone direct their focus on this? Besides,
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I think where we're at now is really just getting the beds into the world, getting the spas open, getting like connected with other spas, like building them, finding the people that want to use them. Because every person that does a session on the bed is actually helping clean up the collective. Because that's how we work from a quantum level, right? It's called quantum learning. Whenever I learn something, a fragmented value of that lesson based on the grounded value that I can hold is uploaded into the collective. So the more people doing these sessions, the more like I'm really excited for when we have 1,000 innocence sessions done with or 1,000 people doing innocence total, right? Because that is going to be a critical change in the way the collective works. And I truly believe a lot of the reasons why the world is going through what it's going through right now is because not just us, but there's so many other people out there that have reached this new level. And so the whole world is changing, and the world stage is literally being shaken up right now so that we can find truth again. And I do believe that a lot of this is the bed. This bed has been one of the hardest things that I have ever worked on to get public out into the world. I mean, the amount of things that have happened just to get this thing across the finish line has been next level. Like, holy crap, right? We finally have financing coming out, I think the end of this week. So the bed will be affordable to all, which is so important. And we're working on getting the spas organized. The Quantum Wellness Spa opens up this weekend. Like I go and grid it one last time on the 16th. And then I think on the 18th it's open. I think it's already sold out. So you'll have to book in advance. But the point is, like, we're getting it, UNT, the University of North Texas, is going to be getting a bed pretty soon. We're slowly but surely getting out there and slowly re-educating. And for me, the biggest thing that the bed is doing isn't even the sessions. Like, I think that's amazing, right? But it's bringing awareness in a stable, grounded way to the masses through education of what quantum healing really is. Because for the longest time, everybody's been calling everything quantum, but it's not quantum, right? Quantum is outside of time and inside of time. Most technologies are forceful technologies. A forceful technology can't exist with infinite time. So if you want to use the word quantum, you have to have something that is an infinite field. You cannot have a finite source and call it quantum. And so re-educating humanity on what the word really means has become one of my main focuses. And the bed is one of these technologies, right? Like obviously the PNR, source C technology, other technologies from void space are also quantum technologies. And we continue to work with other people to create real quantum technologies, verify those quantum technologies so that we can become a trusted source in the world. And I think that's what sets us aside from most of the overnight sensations is we're here to spend millions to billions of dollars in research to prove that quantum healing is a possibility, that there is a real thing to quantum, but that it's been misunderstood and misrepresented so much on this planet. And this is one of the reasons why we're working so hard with so many very trusted sources in the world, is so that we can bring this technology out the right way so that people can experience this technology and also have the data to back that their claims and understandings. Because I do believe that in the next 5-10 years, we're going to move away from chemical-based medicine into vibration and frequency-based medicine, because there's no option otherwise. As we continue to elevate and move faster in our bodies, what's occurring is that frequency is burning through our resources faster. So when we take a chemical or a drug, the amount of support that it offers is less, not more. And then when you look at real quantum technology, you notice that as we evolve into the higher octaves, that you actually get more support from that technology than you do from the other technologies. So while one is weakening every day, the other one is strengthening every day. And that alone is going to prove what we've been hoping for all along, which is what is real and what is not, right? That's the biggest struggle, I think, in the world today, is that we lived in a world of a lie for so long that we can't really recognize the truth in the way that we used to. It's been kind of like washed out of us to the point where a lot of people believe the truth is the lie now. And coming into a world like that, especially grounded science in that world, to like prove a concept like this is going to be a challenge. But we have an amazing community that's there for the thing. We have so many cool events with the community. cool meetups like this, like me and Elijah hanging out. Like I never thought this was going to happen on a live, and here it is. And we're going to continue to create these cool opportunities for more and more people to hang out. What I love is there's 64 participants in this right now with us, and that's 64, which is the 64 things, circuits that make up all of reality, right? So to me, it's just like so much proof that this is the right thing. And having Elijah come on and use the bed and be like, this is it, this is the thing, was another reinforcement of that, because there's this thing with me and Elijah where like we just don't let BS flow through, right? So like we'll just call out things as it is. And that's something that I really appreciate about Elijah, is like he's just real.
Thank
So
you,
what's interesting with you both, and having experienced Elijah's tracks on Jason's bed, is that, you know, I usually, being a gong player, I used to have frequencies that I used to play in the bed where I could actually feel the vibrations. I like that, right? You know, I like that physical field, the bed vibrating. But Elijah, with your tracks, what's really interesting is the shift. Yes, I get some of that on the bed, but what I really get is the vibrating on the inside and around me that happens that I did not expect on all of them so far in some way, shape, or form. And obviously each time I do it, it's different. So how being where you're at, not having the bed, playing in the quantum realm with Jason, how do you get that to happen?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, Mary Lynn. That's like asking how a star or a forest or a baby is born.
I knew you had this.
It's amazing because in a way, when I said earlier in this conversation that Jason and I have been doing what we've been doing and blazing through time and space, and just in our lives, just devoting and learning and growing in our missions respectively, this is what I do. You know, this is what I love to do. And it's something that has kind of come like a flower blooming out of soil, not so much as something that came from my mind that I thought I wanted to do. It's more of something that I discovered along the way of the path of music. I will say that my parents set me up in a good way. They kind of positioned me to I guess make a slam dunk in the field of sound by being both musicians themselves, and they met in a band. They were on the road in the 70s and had, you know, their sex, drugs, and rock and roll times on in the hippie revolution, end of 60s into the 70s. And by the time I was born, I kind of came from this very like musically open household, and so it was just kind of part of the languaging from my like the earliest moments of my memory to explore reality with sound and to make sounds to translate and get to know how to navigate this place. And I noticed that right away certain sounds would evoke different responses in people emotionally, you know, mentally, and even behaviorally, right? So I grew up in, you know, the first few years of my life were spent in a somewhat gospel church. We were one of the few, you know, white families in a very small neighborhood outside of Portland that went to this beautiful church that, so all of my uncles and aunties were like from this kind of gospel tradition. And that was the first language I learned, was in a way a very prayerful, devotional sound that was all for spirit. It was all for God, you know. So I remember as a young baby kind of like being bounced on my mom's lap, looking up at my dad who's playing guitar in the church band, and, you know, big mama out front singing. And I was just like, this is my family, you know, like this makes sense to me. Like there's something about this that's true, because it was in devotion. It was something that was being given not for any of the people in the room. There was something else that was there. And I think that devotion, I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but I knew it had an effect on me. And that effect was, it made me want to cry and be happy at the same time. And that was the first, what I call like a tributary zone that I had discovered, of two things that seem different and opposite that are actually perfectly in union through sound. So sound, as well as light, can unite things that are opposites. They resolve dualities. They resolve the equation, right, in ways that confound the mind. When we're trying to solve the algorithm just here, it doesn't make any sense. We'll never get there. It's infinite spiral. It's like pi, you know. But in here, we can resolve any duality by singing the right note, or by speaking, or just like a mama humming to a baby, the baby will stop crying because it understands something more fundamental than an equation. And so when you bring both of those worlds together, though, when you create a form for the formless, when you create a timeless transmission in time, now we're talking. Now we can actually port people through this thing. And so I noticed that with this project with Jason, it was almost like I had just been ready to do the thing that this thing was asking for, so that it could do something that maybe Jason had an idea of what this quantum device could do, and I had an idea of what sound could do, but we brought them two together, and it kind of did something. We're probably not even not even aware of how deep it can go yet. I imagine we could have this conversation and do another hangout in 10 years and be like, whoa, we didn't see that one coming, because it's like, it has a potential to it that in a way is like a portal. And I think that many things can come through the portal, but like AI, it really depends on who the programmers are. And so you can program AI to do a task and it can take over the whole world and end up in some dimension you don't want to be, because the programmers were just a little bit whack and kind of egocentric. Or you can create a portal that could lead to the most beautiful possible timelines there is. And I think that's what we're working with here. That's obviously what we're devoted to. And I'm only here to be a part of and contribute to the most beautiful, precious timelines of unity, consciousness, and wholeness. And so that's why it's doing that thing in your body that you're describing, is because in a way that's partly, I say, the intent of the programmers, partly the field of potential that you have chosen to create for yourself in that moment, and partly a little bit of mystery that's kind of just that special sauce in that Miracle Mac that nobody knows what it is exactly. Would you add anything to that, Jason?
No, that was perfect. Marilyn's got her mute on, so she doesn't know that we can't hear her.
Okay.
So that's perfect and totally aligned with what I feel when I'm on the bed, which is amazing, because it is the cry that you don't know where it comes from, but it's so authentic and real and organic that you're having it. Or other times, and it could be the same track. The day before, it could have been one experience, the next day another. I mean, there were times where I'm on there and I'm like sobbing like an ugly cry. And I'm like, man, if people were out in the hall, they'd be like, I'm not going on the bed. I'm not going on it. And it's like, but no, this is good. I'm having a conversation with God, and he's opening my eyes and heart and thoughts and everything. I mean, it's just so definitely quantum, multidimensional and different. So both you and Jason have created that. And to, for people constantly saying to me, well, what's the experience going to be like? Like, I can't tell you that, because it is different for everybody and it's different every time. But what you guys have created with the bed and the music is beyond what the frequencies can do, which I'm not knocking the frequencies, because they have a place too. There's a lot of people that definitely just want to do certain frequencies, do all the frequencies, do one for their lungs or whatever. It doesn't matter. And it did take me a while because I've had the bed for a year and like 4 months. So I've had it for a while. So to go from the programming of I should just be doing the frequencies, and then provided your tracks, going, well, then how does that apply to people that want to? And then I started experiencing them. I'm like, oh, never mind, because yeah, this is a whole different ballgame. This is an experience of you in a soulful, physical, thoughtful, loving way that, yes, you can bring if you play the other frequencies, but this, what you two have created, I'm so looking forward to the world experiencing it. And it's hard for me sometimes because I do it for remote sessions, because I do a lot of those. I can't send them the track, but I will send them, Elijah, your meditative tracks, so they can at least hear the quality and love of you in that music, so that they get to do that. So it's just an amazing journey, and I'm looking forward to Jason. Hopefully we can figure out, excuse me, how people that are doing remotes can actually complete the tracks, the rate tracks, and find their journey home.
Yeah, that's the harder part is
Yep.
grounding it in that way. There are some options I'm exploring. I'm working on some ideas around some specific quantum headphones that would have the same frequencies as the bed and would allow the same unlocking. So I may be working with Odyssey to create those pretty soon, which is like the #1 sound headphone company in the world. So I'm actually really happy that we're in collaboration and we're talking right now about creating these quantum headphones, because I think that's going to be a big thing if we're able to accomplish that. And then that might be an opportunity to do something remotely. We're also going to be building an app pretty soon, which will allow also some more opportunity, because when you have an app that's yours, you can custom code it like Activation Station so that a person can tap into it at an even deeper level, right? And also there's less of that feedback and things. So talking about frequency though, this is something that I've always found kind of interesting about this world is we have these ideas like esophageals is a beautiful system, right? Like it's great. But the problem with esophageals is that they're one size fits all.
Mhm.
And so when there's one size fits all, it's not a true statement. Like, let me give you an example. One size fits all t-shirt. Right. So that one size will fit all, but is it a custom fit? No, I don't know so much.
Hmm.
And this is where using frequency as like a set frequency playing versus creating a range of frequencies is different. I'm a fan of using the bed at its optimum value. And for me, what that means is using something that has a range of frequencies so that my body gets all the codes it needs in a single session. And what some people do is they focus on like their lungs, right? As you said, I'm not a fan of focusing on my lungs or something like that unless my intuition is like, hey, right now you need to focus on your lungs, in which case I would really have some deep questions. Because when you force your body to do something using certain frequencies, it's very different than when you offer your body opportunity to heal. And so certain frequencies are very forceful is the way I would describe it, right? Especially if you're doing it with the intention of. I think the greatest healings I've seen personally so far happened when people had no idea what they were getting themselves into. Literally, no idea. Every single person who's laid on the bed with no idea of what it was has had a breakthrough experience where there's like, I don't even under how. Like if you look at our testimonies, we have some of the video ones up finally. I know that there's going to be even more up very soon, and we're continuing to collect more. We even got some more at the expo, which I heard about. So we're going to have more and more testimonies, but I encourage everybody to watch those testimonies, because every time you listen to one, you're learning a part of you, because we're all reflections of each other. One day I'd love to see like thousands of testimonies that you could just go through. They're like 2 minutes, but then find that part of you inside of that, because that's what quantum learning is. When you use set frequencies instead of creating ranged frequencies, for me personally, I feel like you're not getting the full experience of what the bed is capable of. For those of you that don't know this, all the research that we're doing right now aren't on our tracks. They're just on the bed and the plate and the heat, no sound whatsoever. And there's a reason we're doing that, because we want to get the baseline value, and then we want to add the tracks and understand what the difference is in that. But because of our funding right now, we're only able to focus on one or the other. Eventually, we're going to be able to go all out. And I look forward to doing specific sounds and ranges and proving all these different things. But the most important part is remembering that, like, when you're using the bed, you already have infinite resources, right? That's the value of what the quantum field standing is. And then when you put like one of the tracks on, what you're doing is you're creating this infinite potential, but you're also creating a journey through that infinite potential that doesn't have a set program in mind, meaning it doesn't have bumpers. So you're able to explore as far out as you want to go, because what that program that we're creating is a quantum track with a quantum bed. When you're listening to esophageals, those aren't quantum. Those are in that range. Outside of time is here. This is where your esophageals and your neurangles and things like that are going to be, is in this range. They're inside of time, which means that the bed itself and the true power of what it's capable of, it's like less than. And that's one of the reasons why I really love quantum tracks on the quantum bed, is like it just like it's being fully met. It's a completely different sensation than anything before. And that's where like finding Elijah and being willing to go through what I went through, I knew that it was going to be an amazing journey with Elijah because of that. And then we just get each other. Like we understand what we're doing, and we also understand why we're doing it. And so that pure clarity of the reasoning behind what we're doing, which is creating a quantum experience for people, is in that track. It's made specifically for that bed, right? It's made specifically for something that has a quantum output. So if we are able to make these headphones, it'll be for those headphones too, right? But the idea is using something that's going to optimize and really test the full range of the quantum field is quantum tracks.
Really well said. You know, it comes to mind the beauty of how you've used these words a few times, the difference between a quantum technology and what you're calling a forceful technology. And I love that you brought that up again, because it's one of the reasons I knew right away we were in resonance. I think it was very early on in our conversations. We were talking about the difference between, say, this bed and why it's not the same as a med bed. And I'd love to hear you jam on that a little bit more, because a lot of people are starting to see similar technologies coming out and going, oh, it's like a med bed, right? And yet it is interesting that in time, all we can kind of do to understand technology is to just kind of recreate a different version of the same thing. And in a way, what we have been doing for centuries is a very forceful way to get consciousness to do a certain thing. And I'd love to just kind of paint that picture by telling, I don't even know if I shared this with you, Jason, but I was asked to do another technology project about 7 years ago that was, I guess, a great example of a forceful technology. It seemed like all the words were right words. It seemed like the intention was good. It was for the upliftment of humanity, but it was a very kind of subversive way to just put out this frequency into every phone that would just make everybody move into wholeness. But the way they were doing it felt a little bit like forceful, to say the least.
Well, you said
and they were asking me to be a part of this thing and actually do, use my voice to make a thing. And it was like, well, but do they get to where's their choice in it? And they're like, no, we're just going to put it in, because they're already putting in all these bad frequencies. So we're just going to do the opposite and put in these good frequencies and just kind of sneak attack humanity to lift the vibration of the planet. I was like, I don't think you guys understand like what the journey into wholeness is about. Like there has to be, in a way, like a fingerprint that unlocks the door of your own choice that is going to actually create that portal into wholeness, into your remembrance. That's why right away when you and I met, I was like, I just love that consciousness is so inhabited in everything that you're doing, that it's kind of like laying out some tools on a table going, here you go. Right. And this is kind of my experience of being on the bed. It's kind of like giving your body an experience of, oh, here's a space where my body can decide how it wants to heal, regenerate, reprogram. Maybe I can access different memories. Maybe I can access future memories, but it's a quantum state. And we can talk about quantum states with the best that we can do with language in time, right, in this box of this experience. But the whole point of it is that it has an access point to outside of time, which means it's like monoatomics, it exists in another dimension. So it's here, but it's not here. It's, it's of this world, but it's not. And so because there's that both and to it, it confounds the mind when we try to describe, what the process is. Just like you were saying, Mary Lynn, when people ask you, well, what's it going to be like? It's like, well, that's like asking people, what's it going to be like when you go for a walk in the forest? It's going to be like however it is, depending on your thoughts, your beliefs, your behaviors, whether you're looking up and paying attention to the birds and the way that they're moving and walking slowly, or if you're just looking at your phone and walking really fast. Like, you could have a million different experiences of the same path in the forest, depending on where you're at as you enter. So kind of like a hall of mirrors, I think the bed, as well as the music, and this is feedback I've gotten a lot over the years, is that a lot of people will come into the cathedral of sound of an experience, a live experience, or a recorded experience like these frequencies, and have very diverse experiences that are their own, like as individual as their fingerprint. But there's also some kind of common thread to all of them. This is the interesting thing. This is what's interesting about everyone who goes on the bed is going to have some connection to this unified field, but it can be a very individual way that they get there, a very individual way that they're going to translate and talk about that experience. But there is something in common to everyone's experiencing. And I find that both andness about it so fascinating and so exciting, because it gives us all something that we're like, oh, I know, because we've both been there, but at the same time, we can still have our own unique experience. And it's like as unique to us as our life. And yeah, so anything you would want to add to that, Jason?
I would just say he nailed it. I mean, that's introduction versus force is what I call it for my community out there that has heard the term. But realistically, like whenever you add force to anything, you collapse the quantum magnetism of it, meaning the moment I add force, it's no longer infinite. And the only reason I would ever add force is because I have a misunderstanding. So the moment I add force to anything, I've created a misunderstanding in the thing that I want, and therefore I've collapsed quantum magnetism, and other things start to move away from me instead of towards me. So if I want to have a quantum experience and I use a finite technology inside of that space to like broadcast that quantum technology, then what I get is a finite experience that isn't capable of infinite possibility. It creates an opportunity for the thing, but you're not really engaging the divine intelligence of the body. You're engaging a certain part of the body because you as a man or a woman know better than your body, which isn't really true. If you give your body infinite resources, it will heal in the way that it is perfect to heal. And that is the most valuable thing about it. Whereas like when you use a frequency-based track, which is a finite sequence, which is valuable on a lot of systems, it's powerful. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's powerful in a forceful way. And that might be exactly what you need. I'm not saying that isn't either, right? Because everything is perfect. You learn from it, you experience, you grow, and you evolve. And if where you are is that esophageal frequencies are exactly what you need, then that's awesome. But whenever you don't need them anymore, stop using them, right? Work with a tool until it doesn't work anymore and then move on. There's no need to make it less than or anything else. We've been using scalar technology for the longest time because there wasn't anything better. I would venture to say that in the last 5 years, true quantum technology started to come out. But prior to that, there was just pretending of what quantum technology is. And I know that because I've been told so many times, like, oh, dude, have you heard of this quantum technology? And I look at it and I'm like, that's lower range scalar. That's not even higher range scalar. And they're like, well, but it causes this thing. And I'm like, and it causes this thing is a statement that proves my like exactly why, right? This thing does this thing because that's all it can do. So it's this range of frequencies. And therefore, if you tap into those frequencies, you'll have this experience. Quantum fields don't require anything. They just are. In fact, you are in a quantum field right now. You may not be translating that quantum field, which is the whole purpose of the bed. It's the same reason why I tell people, like, these technologies are only here until they don't need to be. I truly hope that before I die, I really think in the next 10 years, that most technology that we know today will be outdated because we will have unlocked ourselves and our capabilities. The whole reason these beds exist is because right now it's important to unlock, and these beds have an opportunity to speed up that process. Now, again, have an opportunity. You don't lay on the bed to speed up that process. You lay on the bed because it's in front of you. Just like you get off the bed when it's not in front of you. You tapping into a quantum field as a resource is beautiful and amazing and powerful. You relying on a quantum field as a resource is the most disempowering thing you'll ever do for yourself. You have the capability within you to unlock everything. This is a true statement, 100%. If it's in front of you to lay on the bed, that's awesome. Congratulations. It's in front of you, lay on the bed. If it's not in front of you, lay on the bed, don't. Simple, right? The cool part, and what Elijah said was like, it's all these tools that are laying on a table in front of you. None of those tools are wrong. Every one of those tools have value until they don't. And you have to decide when they don't have value anymore. You might not finish all 12 tracks. You might be like, hey, I'm done. And that's cool. You might finish all 12 tracks, and that's cool. There's no difference of what is or isn't. It's your personalized journey. If you go into a forest when you're not supposed to go into a forest and a bear mauls you and you knew you weren't supposed to go in there, that's on you. that could be an experience. We've had people that have had healing crises getting on the bed, and that was for them to have, obviously, right? But they could have resourced up better or prepared better to have that healing crisis be less. But sometimes we need those breakthroughs. So I'm not saying that that's exactly what needs to happen or doesn't need to happen. The key is always using quantum fields and everything else when it's time to. I think one of the biggest problems that we have today in the world is we have these quantum healers. That's what they call themselves. And they unlock something for you before you unlock it for yourself at a major level. And then we have these things where people aren't able to translate the information running through them, and then literally go into psychosis and all kinds of other problems. The cool part about this bed is it doesn't have the ability to do that because of the way that it's a quantum field, and it's not something that is shaking. It's something that is stable. But this misunderstanding of working with infinite space and time in a finite space and time container will break that container. That's just how it works. If your mind is not capable of achieving that level and you're playing third eye frequency on the bed, that's not ideal for you. And that's one of those things, like, if you're going to use a system, make sure to use it in a stable way. The reason I bring this up is because as you get a bed, or if you're working on a bed, you can go out of order on the tracks. And we say very clearly not to, and people have done it. You see, when you go to love and wisdom, for instance, right? But you don't have innocence, then your understanding of love and wisdom isn't balanced and stable. And so they go in an order because they're actually cleaning up the programs by creating infinite space in a specific sequence so that you can look at that thing from a quantum level. So imagine understanding innocence at a quantum level. You're not going to get that in 5 tracks, but you're going to get enough understanding that you can move into harmony and begin that process of understanding quantum innocence while also understanding quantum harmony until eventually you're stable enough. And as you progress forward, then eventually, yeah, you'll have the understanding of quantum love and quantum wisdom and cosmic understanding, all these other really amazing things you've always wanted in your life. But it's about understanding that field and letting that field expand naturally instead of being like, oh, let's do this. This is one of the reasons why drugs are so valuable on the planet to the average person, is because they just want to go fast, but they're not sustainable. True quantum fields are not only a sustainable thing, but they will actually make you go faster in the long run. They might just take longer at the beginning, but you're building a solid foundation. Can you imagine building a quantum innocent foundation and how it would change your world? If you can't, go lay on the bed and experience it and see. I'm curious to hear your story.
So who came up with the names for all the appropriate Ray tracks? Because they are appropriate. So who came up with that?
Is a combination, right? So like the first 7 are my core teachings and the most powerful things I've ever written in my life. Like, it's ridiculous, right? And then the other ones are his master tracks. And then together we were able to weave them together so that we could create this journey to bring people exactly where we needed to. And that was wholeness. That was our goal. It was like, how do we create the ability for quantum wholeness to exist? Because to this day, no one has experienced quantum wholeness, because the moment somebody does, every other person will immediately break out of the 3rd dimension 100%. They can't not.
So where are you? Where are you, Jason, in the tracks?
I just did appreciation.
Is that 9? I don't remember.
I'm not sure the number either.
I know, I'm only
I
at
thought about this. I was
6.
like, man, I should print out the list, have it ready, because somebody's going to reference it. Somebody's going to ask me the question. And then I was like, no, nobody will ask me the question.
And I don't have the answer either. So, whatever. I just know, yeah.
You're actually
Yeah,
correct.
I'm out of the
It is
first
9.
7. And what's happening though is I'm actually having to go back and do them over again. So it's not a straight line of progression. I still do innocence all the time, right? So I'll be like, okay, which track is best for me in the level that I've unlocked? And that's the key component, right? When you're looking at a quantum field, all the concepts are infinite. So you can lay on that bed in innocence for 100 times, but it's more valuable sometimes to go innocence to harmony, then back to innocence, then to harmony, than it is to just stay in innocence. And the reason is because taking different perspectives and different viewpoints does this. When you stay in one area, you do this. But if you're doing this, you're constantly expanding out in the way that you're designed to. And so eventually you will reach that wholeness track. I don't know. I'm not trying to race to it. As long as I have the experience grounded at 51%, then I move on to the next one. But Cosmic Understanding, I think I was on that one for like several weeks, because every time I do it, I'd be like, I need to go back down here and work on this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, because it's a progression, but it's a progression naturally. It's kind of like Activation Station, where you're like, it's not what you think it is. You don't just go to Activation Station and go, oh, I'm just going to go straight down the line. It never works that way. And there's a reason for that, because when you're in a quantum learning space, like, you naturally are the driver. You know exactly where you're meant to go, but you might not fully understand that yet. There's a show I just finished watching, and it's one of the best shows ever made. It's called His Dark Materials, and it's season 3. And I'm not going to run it, but if you want to understand quantum learning from that perspective, I recommend that, like, you finish that season, because it's so powerful, and there's so much very visceral, real examples, especially like in the world of like when they're transitioning. I don't want to run it. So
Jason, it's crazy that you brought up His Dark Materials, because Laura, my girlfriend who just arrived back to Costa Rica, never saw it, and we just started watching it from season 1 together. So because I was like, what do you mean you haven't watched it? So last night we're up all night, like, binge watching the first season. So it's crazy that you brought that up. It's my favorite.
Dude, it's perfect for right now, right? So like, the seasons come out exactly with what needs to happen. And that's what I've always loved about that particular show. But this 3rd season, it collapses and completes the dark timeline. So like the chaos timeline and all their beliefs and misunderstandings in it, and what it would have done, is fully there as a complete codex. And once you've finished it, you don't have that timeline and its belief structures in you anymore. It so powerfully unlocks that it literally clears an entire understanding of the future of a timeline. I honestly believe if everyone watched that series, that we would have no chaos left on our planet by the end of it.
Amen.
That's how good that.
Have you read the books?
I've never read the books, no.
Yeah, the books were really profound too. That's how I initially got tapped into that. But yeah, they did a great job. And I'm not one to just go, oh yeah, you should all go watch a show. But that one, highly stand behind everything you just said. I think if everyone on the planet watched that show, we would definitely collapse the dark timeline together. We'd just be in a brighter world.
And you haven't even finished season 3 yet.
No, I have.
Finish season 3. Oh, you have?
Yeah, I went back and I'm watching the whole thing again with Louder, because it was so good. I'm like, okay, you gotta go. I'm in for a second ride. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I think the second time would be even more fun, because you would see all the intricacies that you didn't see before.
Totally. Yeah.
But I just finished season 3 yesterday night. I binge watched all the season. I was just like so blown away. I started season 2, and then the day later I was like, okay. And then I finished watching all of season 2 and season 3 in a single day, because I was just like, this is so good, and I'm learning so many things. And it was my day off from the world, so it worked out real well.
Yeah, that was the same thing I did yesterday. That was my day off from the world. So for all of you who are watching, in what dimension would Jason and Elijah, without talking to each other, be binge watching the same show on the same day? I guess
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, love it.
Like, that's even a question, right?
I know. Sometimes you have to marvel at the perfection of the reflection, right?
Everything, totally.
So do you want to do any audience questions, or do you have more?
That's what I was going to ask. Are you okay with that, Jason, Elijah? You're good with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got 15 minutes that
That's about where we're at.
Great.
All right. Let's see, more comments. Haven't seen questions. Amazing, Sarah. Have you seen any questions?
Doing these on Zooms is that, like, whenever we close the Zoom, I never get to read the meeting chat. And it looks like a great meeting chat. There's tons of messages.
Lots of comments. People are loving all of this. Absolutely. I mean, even for me, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it, because I'm sure I'll pick up more nuggets that I didn't really hear. Like, oh wait, what was that again? So yeah, it's amazing. And I'm a different person when I watch it again, right? So obviously I'm going to pick up something new. Yeah. Team Heart's been putting lots of links in there. Thank goodness. People have tech skills that I'm eventually going to learn, but I'm not quite there yet. And I'm so appreciative to them. So I don't see any questions. Anybody? Let's see.
I'm scrolling through them all to see if there's.
Yeah, me too. Other people are needing to rewatch as well. See? Hey,
We
guys.
answered like most of the questions.
Yeah.
I think the only one was what is Miracle Mac?
What is
The ultimate question.
The
Miracle
question.
Mac is literally a miracle. That's the only way I can describe it. I know there's a recipe online somewhere because I gave it away once. So there is one. I don't think there's a video of it, but there's definitely a recipe of it. But Miracle Mac is a miracle. It's macaroni and cheese made very uniquely, where like you weave the ingredients at a quantum level into themselves, so that when you eat it, you're actually getting a full quantum experience through eating food. It'll be at a restaurant when we actually have it. I'll teach the chef how to make it.
It was a life-changing experience. I'll say that much. I absolutely love food. I love cuisine. I love to fast and I love food. I love both, you know. And I remember going to Jason's house and eating Miracle Mac for the first time, and that will forever be one of the most impactful moments, because as an outside observer, you could say, oh, there's no way that with those ingredients, this could be a really healthy experience for you, but it actually is, because of the quantum intentions. It blows the mind open that you can actually take anything and make something beautiful with it. But Miracle Mac is actually all the best things really in life that are put together in just the right way, that I just wish I was there so I could have some right now, Jason.
Well, you'll be here for the grand opening when you play your concert, so that'll be fun.
Do we know when that's going to be? Do we have a date for that yet?
We're still figuring that out. I think it'll probably be in like June-ish, somewhere around there. But once we figure out the venue space, then me and Elijah are gonna sit down and we're gonna figure out all the other stuff. It's gonna be a really cool thing.
Can't wait.
Awesome. So Jason, you're going to have a restaurant next door to the wellness spa in Denton, so that you can make Miracle Mac all day long for people to have it before and after.
That's definitely not planned. There will be the restaurant will be at the CFE though. That's going to be a different thing, which will have the Quantum Wellness Spa. It's just not going to be in Denton. That one's a very big project. I'm hoping that one will be open in the next 2 years, because we're building it from scratch, like the whole thing. It's a lot. Actually, next month is when we sit down to discuss and begin to plan that kind of stuff. So I'll have more information around that, but that will be our very first built-in Quantum Wellness Spa. We're going to be opening multiple Quantum Wellness Spas all over the world, but that's our first one to actually build. So we're going to dig into the ground and create like tunnels, and it's a whole big process, so that you have the whole womb of the earth and you're also in that experience. It's like, yeah, it's my dream. So I'm working on that.
Wow. Okay. I guess I can hold off for the mac and cheese. That's a good reason.
But the other stuff that you're talking about, like the Adapter Cafe and things, that's going to be open as well with the spa. It'll be later on though, because we have to renovate and stabilize the second floor and build all those pieces. But yeah, we will have that, and that is going to be really cool. And hopefully we can convince Elijah to let us bring Jewel Juice to Adapter Cafes, because it's a legitimately and amazingly life-changingly good beverage, which paired with the bed is like next level.
Sounds like a yes.
Feels like a yes.
Like a yes.
All right, so we are getting questions. Sarah, do you want to pick a good one?
Hold on a second.
I think James is a good one.
Yeah, I see it too. The
Let's see.
difference between the
Oh,
distance.
here's a good one. Is the bed able to retrieve lost soul fragments?
So there's literally nothing the bed can't do. That's the value of what quantum is. Whether you are ready to do that in the first session or the 10th session or the 100th session is between you and your body, right? It's never going to force you to do anything or go through anything, as long as you're not using forceful tracks. If you're playing soul connection and repair sequences on the bed, that's a whole nother story, in which case, you know, I mean, like I did quantum K on the bed and that was very intense, beautiful.
I did that
but
too.
I've done quantum K for like 7 years straight now. So every night for 7 years. So doing it on the bed, I was prepared for the changes that would occur, but that's not something I would recommend to anyone ever, unless they know what they're doing. And that's one of those things is like, you just got to go at your own pace and use the right things. I personally don't do anything other than sound sequences on the bed and technology that's not forceful. I do believe that you can repair your soul 100% with just the sound sequences and other things. But I also think that it's going to be at your own pace if you do it with something that's not forcing it. And so I wouldn't look forward to it being a thing that would happen. I would embrace whatever happens and realize that that is part of the repair.
I love as well when just the nature of this question being, is the bed able to retrieve lost soul fragments? And I'll just chime in and say, I absolutely experienced that. Just as someone who just laid on it for the first time, I was literally retrieving and integrating fragments that were, my soul was existing in many places when I got to Jason's house. In fact, coming off of a grueling tour and just kind of, you know, sometimes you leave energy in different dimensions and different conversations, and you kind of, you know, you can spread yourself kind of thin, and you can feel that depending on, you know, how good you are at kind of recollecting yourself after experiences. And in that moment, I definitely experienced soul retrieval of a few fragments sitting on that bed, and one of them was from the future, you know, as I described earlier. So I'll just say that I think the answer to that question is yes, and high five everything Jason just said, that it really is up to you. That, you know, when you're dealing with a portal, you could ask that the same question of that portal in a million different ways. Can it do this? Can it do that? Can it do this? And it really is up to you and your readiness and your also your relationship with yourself and what you're calling into that moment.
Yep. It's just like, can you see a butterfly if you go in the forest?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But is it the right season? Did you go the path? Was there a butterfly in the forest? Probably. Did you see it? I don't know. Was your observation and your depth high enough? Maybe, right? That's the thing with the Innocence track. Like, I've listened to it probably 50, 60 times now at least. And I get more every time, you know? That's the cool part about Infinite, is that everything is available. Literally everything is available. We've seen people have nerve damage be repaired, whether the bed did it or not, I don't know. I mean, it was within an hour of using the bed, but the point is, we've seen that, and apparently nerves can't be repaired according to modern science. Like, an optic nerve is not something that can be healed. If it's severed, it's over, and yet we saw it happen. So the most complicated thing in our body to heal is probably nerves. And to have that happen is something that proves that anything's really possible. Because if that's possible, then this is possible, so on and so forth. We've seen all kinds of amazing, miraculous things happen with our own eyes. And it's hard to believe. I know Mary Lynn has some crazy stories as well, right? But it's just, you don't know what's going to happen, because it's like going in the forest. I love that example. I'm going to use it because that's the best way to describe the quantum field. Like, you're going on an adventure. You have no idea where that adventure is going to take you. You have no idea what you're going to learn on that adventure, but you know that it's the exact right thing for you. That's exploring the quantum field. That's why I love meditation. When I teach people the concept of meditation, I tell them that it's like fishing in a stream. If you fish in a stream and you think that you can go back to that exact same spot and hit that exact same part of water and get the exact same fish again, you're mistaken, because it's not how it works, right? When you're meditating, you're actually taking a chisel and you're chipping away at a dam that's holding the stream from you. And you built that dam with your childhood trauma and your past life traumas and other things. And so I don't know how big that dam is. Everybody's different, but it's there and it's available. And every time that you're willing to sit down to meditate, you chip away a little bit. Even if it's only 5 minutes, it doesn't matter, right? Each time you create a little bit more, and eventually it starts to stream out. And maybe it's a trickle at first. That's okay. Now you're starting to feel something, and no one knows when that's going to occur. But what you're feeling is called meditation, the state of meditation. And as you continue to meditate, the action of meditation, you continue to break it open. So eventually you are only in the stream. And what happens then is you don't act in meditation anymore because you don't need to, because you are meditation. Quantum learning is pretty much the same principle, except instead of having to chip away at the dam, which you are doing while you're laying on the bed, you're also in the water because you're outside of time. So it's as if you already chipped away at the dam. And so that process of you getting that ally is like infinitely amazing. It has so much more possibility and potential than we can even dream of. It's one of the reasons why I absolutely love my time on the bed.
Wow. So both of you who come from your heart and are about God as well, coming together to create this amazing journey on the bed, both on the bed itself and the Elijah Ray tracks, the Ray tracks. Definitely looking forward to what's coming. Although, like Jason said, going back and doing them again, because I've done it, I've had to go to the 1 hour and 11-minute one, because that was like, every once in a while I get called back to that one because it's like in my face. I'm like, okay, I'm going. So what you guys are creating is amazing. And I'm so looking forward to the beauty and the heart and the God-driven journey that we're all on together. And I'm so grateful you two are the ones that are leading the way. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's always fun to play with more awesome people. And I think we had like 65 people in here at one point. So that's pretty awesome that we have that many cool people all playing and there were that little questions.
See, it's starting to come into focus now. Clarity is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt the momentum massively change these last few weeks of like what the bed is and more people being wanting to connect to it and more openness with it, you know. As we continue to go forward in the world, it just seems to continue to open more and more doors. And that's a great sign, especially since the world of the lie is ending. So the world of truth is coming and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
People are being badass and stepping into their braveness to see the side that they're feeling that's not 3D and being brave enough to want to step into it just to see what it is. And that's a beautiful thing. I agree.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for
Thank
taking
you.
the time and like being part of this. And to everyone there, thank you guys so much for jumping into the room, and for everybody on the replay, thank you again for all your love and support and the kindness that you bring. And I look forward to doing more of these. I know that we have a lot of them scheduled. It's so cool to like have this heartbeat community and have this private thing and then to do those things. So a shout out to the team of the heartbeat community. You guys are doing a great job. Continue with all this amazing stuff and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Much love.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.